Joanne Brown, Director of Public Works. Your agency obviously has a lot of needs. What resources do you need for you guys to go out and fix village streets and to provide adequate busing services for students, and why don't you have these resources right now?
Well, I think obviously the most critical that face our community every day is transporting safely the 39,000 children that we transport for both public and private school. Our challenge right now is to get additional buses online, additional bus drivers. I have 6 senior bus drivers that are going to be retiring in the next couple of weeks. So those are critical positions that need to be replaced. I also need to increase the number of mechanics that we have that maintain the buses, primarily also because we have an aging fleet of buses. Right now I have 9 mechanics. That is not adequate by any means to take care of the daily requirements of maintaining our bus operations. The issue of secondary roads, it all comes down to money. I mean, I think our department has demonstrated recently that when we have funds provided, as in the case of Gilbaza, and right now for residents or people that are driving through the inner villages in Barrigada and starting to see the road repairs and more permanent fixes that we're doing, it's possible if funding is provided. Overall, there was a previous assessment done on secondary roads on Guam, and that price tag is over $800 million. To even begin to address the type of repairs that are needed on secondary roads throughout the island. So it comes down to resources. I think it's important to determine what the most critical resources are. Another area that we're going to need more support in is our permitting division to be able to accommodate the requests that are coming through the office. And then at the same time, just because of growth, major subdivisions are being constructed on the island right now. And it's important to have adequate inspectors to ensure the safety and structural integrity of these buildings. So it's important. I mean, there's some very critical areas of the department. We're only down to 1 or 2 personnel. And if that continues, we're going to end up being in a situation where critical services that needed to be provided to the government, we're not going to be able to do it, quite simply because we don't have the people to do it.
And so would you like to see more resources from the government, from local funds prioritized toward transportation services and construction services?
Well, very much so, because these are areas that have been neglected for quite a long time. I mean, you know, the newest buses in our fleet are 7 going on 8 years old, with the oldest bus at 22 transporting our children. You can't maintain that without an adequate mechanical staff and continued flow of resources throughout the year to address maintenance and repair of these buses that can range from, you know, battery replacement to major engines that have to be replaced. So definitely, I mean, if there's a desire to see these services, I mean, everyone complains that they're not getting the services they need. But at the same time, if you think transporting your children safely every day is a priority, if you think having safe and decent roads to drive every day is a priority, if you want to ensure proper government service and timely inspections and quality inspections within our building construction, you need qualified and capable people to do that.
Chief Regalio, about how many more police officers do you need for an adequate fleet, and what would you do? What kind of services more would you provide if you had those additional police officers?
You know, with the police department, the mission of the police department is to protect and serve the people of Guam. And people expect response from the police department, and we have a force of 306 police officers. We're expecting a military buildup. We're expecting a lot of tourists that we have to protect as tourism is increasing. And with that responsibility, a lot of our precincts, we have 4 precincts on the island, and they average about 30-some officers per each precinct. We need to increase that in terms of personnel. But in order to support that, the personnel that we recruit and hire at the entry level need to be trained. So we need the financial resources to pay for the training of these police officers. An average cycle of 30 recruits annually is what's going to get us up to par in terms of ensuring that we have enough police officers to perform at each of the precincts. And also the police department's patrol division isn't the only function that we have in the police department. We have an investigations function, you know, and we have also a partial homeland security function too. In this region of the world with a lot of the security concerns, we need to ensure that we have those specialized units from our Marine Patrol that have boating, to our detectives, to our special weapons tactic teams, that have the resources to support should anything take place on the island. So a large force was always expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood for the population of 180 some people, about 400 some police officers is what's really needed for the Guam Police Department.
And you would have them out on neighborhood patrol, anti-drug activities, family violence, anti-family violence activities, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, we would have them, the core of police function is patrol. So they're going to go out there and keep our neighborhoods safe. And the additional thing is to ensure our roads are safe, traffic enforcement, to ensure that juvenile crime is reduced. So they're also mentoring and juvenile and trying to keep that particular problem in the community. And also at the same time, our, of course, Homeland Security mission to ensure they're in terrorist prevention or terrorist response and emergency management in terms of natural disasters that Guam might be confronted with.
Director of Administration, right now, about how far behind are we on tax refunds? How much do we owe right now?
About 30 million.
And that's for tax year 2011 and prior years,
That's correct.
And how much do we need to save up between now and December of next year, 2013, in order to pay for 2012 refunds and to save up the provision for 2013 refunds?
For the 2012 provision, we should have saved $105 million already, and we have not done that. And then for 2013 tax year refund, that would be around $100 million.
So altogether, we're looking at $235 million.
That's correct.
$235 million that between now and December of next year we need to save up.
That's correct.
So considering that, what's our cash flow like?
It is very difficult because of the deficit that has accumulated over the last several years. So because of the over projection of revenues, and that is one of the primary reasons why we went out and floated the $344 million bond to try to catch up on the tax refunds and pay the taxpayers their refunds that are due to them.
If we don't cut spending under the governor's plan right now in order to afford the payment of these tax refunds, will we have enough to pay our employees up to market standard with the pay plan, the 20% law enforcement, plus the resources we need over at DPW, Guam Police, Department of Corrections, and Department of Education?
No, we don't.
Can you elaborate more about what the situation will be like if we don't cut spending?
If we don't cut spending, there's going to be some departments that are not going to be funded if we have to continue paying the tax refund.
And how difficult is it to talk to other directors in the department about what they cannot have on a daily basis?
It is difficult, but you know, they have been understanding of the needs of this government because they're in line with the administration on what we're trying to do in right-sizing this government.